There's many games that I want to review, but simply don't have enough time in the day to do a full-scale game review in the way that I prefer to do them. Some of these games actually deserve some attention though, whether it be for good reasons or bad, so I decided to do a brief gaming review series. Today we'll be discussing yet another free-to-play Battle Royale game, one with a very interesting concept, but it fails to deliver in the end. This is Don't Even Think. A while ago I saw a new game trailer that looked promising and I got hyped up for it, I'm not gonna lie. That was a mistake. Don't Even Think is a new free-to-play BR game exclusive to the PlayStation. Even though it has its issues, a lot of issues, it still manages to bring some new and interesting mechanics to the table. Now it has a heavy emphasis on survival and even throws a werewolf-like character into the mix, which is actually the funnest way to play in my opinion. But we're gonna talk about that in a bit. First we need to talk about this game's biggest problem. Well, one of them, the map and player capacity. The map size is large. Usually this could be considered a good thing, but not when you only have 30 players and 3 werewolves in total in a game at a time. Now you can easily go an entire match without seeing another player, which I have done before. Now this is a very boring gameplay loop. You run in squads of 3 unless you choose to play as a werewolf, then you'll be going in solo, and honestly, this is half the problem in Don't Even Think. If the map was drastically smaller, I believe it would add a lot to the fun factor of the game, but sadly this isn't the case. Now speaking of gameplay, let's go ahead and talk about some of the intriguing ideas this game fails to follow through with. In this Battle Royale game, players are the least of your worries. The environment is the biggest hazard of all. Now when you're out in the world, finding a way to keep warm is essential as you will freeze over a certain amount of time. Now you can see how close you are to freezing by the little bar above your health gauge on the bottom of the screen. Now once this bar gets all the way down, you'll start to take damage until your eventual death. Now there are campsites and fireplaces scattered all around the map, of which you have to ignite to start a fire to keep warm. This is a good example of a good idea that's poorly executed. You'll find most of your time is spent trying to find a place to stay warm so you don't die, which would be a really good survival mechanic if it didn't force you to always be looking for a source of heat rather than focusing on eliminating your opponents. For this reason, it's actually pretty rare in this game to have a kill streak above 3, and that's actually quite the feat in itself, unless you're a werewolf and know where to look. If you know where players are, it's a bit easier. If you don't, good luck finding someone. Like I mentioned previously, there are some redeeming qualities in this game. One of them is the form of the werewolf system. Now unlike the human side, the goal as a werewolf is to run around feasting on the dead bodies to power up your abilities, which are all scattered around the map. You won't really have a hard time finding dead bodies, they're everywhere. Now these abilities are tied to your directional pad buttons, and as you fill up, I guess we'll call it your blood gauge, you'll start to unlock these and actually be able to use them in combat. Now the effort put into the werewolves actually leads me to believe that this game was originally supposed to be something drastically different. In my opinion, I believe this Battle Royale was actually tacked on at the last moment to build upon the BR hype, which was kinda late. Now of course this can be completely false and they had planned it from the get-go, but honestly I don't think that's the case. Now this being a brief review, I'm obviously not going to go too in depth on all the different systems. That being said, one of the most universal mechanics in BR titles is the customization, and well, this is another thing that Don't Even Think gets completely wrong. Both human and werewolves have customization options in the form of appearance skins, but they are some of the most generic skins I've ever seen in any game. Worst yet, they can't even be unlocked in-game. You have to buy them with premium currency. This is some of the most expensive in-game currency I've seen compared to most free-to-play titles. In most games, you pay $5 for 500 of said currency. Here, you only get 300. Now the items aren't exactly cheap either, otherwise this wouldn't be so bad. Sure, you can earn some during gameplay, but it would take a long ass time to save up for even the cheapest items. Now if this game was good and fun to play, this would be fine, but as we discovered, it's simply boring. Out of all the problems this game has, it could be forgiven if it wasn't for its biggest issue, the combat. The combat in this game is some of the most clunky, most boring combat I've seen in a game yet. The shooting is so bad, you can't even hit your target if you're aiming directly at them. There is a first person aiming type of system, but you have to hit the right analog stick to switch to the first person aiming, and it's very clunky and it doesn't seem to help at all. You're better off in third person trying to randomly hit your target. Now, how you go about winning the match is probably what forces this game to be so boring sometimes. Now, you have to go find 3 data points that appear over a certain amount of time, and once you collect all 3 data points, you have to call in a helicopter, and there's about, I think, 4 helicopter pads, and it will tell you to go to one, and it will let everyone in the game know where that helicopter is going, and you just go there and get picked up by the helicopter, and after that, game over, you win, and everyone else loses. So the focus isn't on eliminating your opponents, and sure, you can say this when they direct everyone to the helipad, that's when all the action starts, but in this game it doesn't. Every time I end up going to a helipad, there's hardly anyone there, and if there is, it's just a couple werewolves stacked up, ready to take you out as soon as you step foot on that helipad. Now, werewolves are so hard to take down in this game. Unless you have a squad of 3, a full squad, there is no way you're going to take down a werewolf. They kill you in a mere second. Now, there are silver bullets that will help you take down these werewolves easier if you are by yourself, but still, even then, it's very, very hard to do because of the clunky combat. Now, this game mode just draws out too long in my opinion. Like I said, it makes it boring. There isn't much else that needs to be said about Don't Even Think. The game is lacking in the graphics department. It runs very poorly and is always dropping frames, but I guess with it being free, it may be worth jumping on just to play as the werewolf a couple times because it is fun to play as the werewolf. Now, in total, it was a decent idea that was butchered, and we may never get to experience this game at its full potential, which is sad. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe. I'll be covering QuakeCon and other gaming topics in my next Gaming from Abyss video, which is my weekly gaming news series. If you missed the first one, it'll be right up in the corner. Go check it out if you have a chance. Now, I do plan on doing a couple more brief reviews. I have a lot of games lined up to do these reviews on. Not all of them bad. Most of them are actually good. I didn't even want to start off with this one, but I had to get my opinions out about it because I really like the idea. Now, thank you for watching as always, and have a great day. I'll talk to you guys later.
I got broads in Atlanta, just to lean the family, credit cards and the scammers.